Good morning, everyone. Welcome. It is February 17th, 2026. You are watching the Ignition News. We've got a few stories to talk about today, drawing some inspiration and leading you out with a little bit of determination, a little bit of grit, and a little bit of a reality check about what's happening in the country right now and what we can do to save it, if we can save it at all. So, good morning. I wanted to just acknowledge that it is, in fact, morning. I had a really difficult day yesterday. Yeah, I really did. But I'm back. And I think it's a good reminder to pick yourself back up when you get a chance. Let's see. Let's find out. It's been a while since I've done fun facts about the day, so let me pull up some fun facts about today to get us started on the show. It feels like Monday to me because I took yesterday off, but it is in fact Tuesday. It is in fact Tuesday. So February 17th. I do want to start out the show by acknowledging that we have learned that Jesse Jackson passed away. We're going to talk about that on the show a little bit, and I think some lessons that we can learn from his passing as well. While I pull up the details on on today, I got started at a different time today, so my script is not quite ready. Yeah, so let's get into it. So obviously the first story today that I want to talk about, Reverend Jesse Jackson died this morning. He was surrounded by his friends and family. At 84 years old, he had been battling a disease and a rare neurological disorder on top of Parkinson's, which he had already been diagnosed with in 2017 when he let us know about that. And he passed away. And I'm not an expert here on Jesse Jackson's legacy. So I think it's a good reminder for us to take moments like this and reflect and understand that multiple people have been involved in the push of liberation. Speaking of push, I wanted to just give you a little bit of information in honor of the work that he did in American resistance. So I did do some research before the show this morning. He was born in Greenville, South Carolina in 1941. He was born in a version of America which was segregated at the time, where he was forced to sit in the back of buses, drink from separate water fountains, and attend an all-black school. He turned down a minor league baseball contract to continue his education, and he participated in sit-in demonstrations against the segregation as part of the Greenville Eight. Then he left Chicago Theological Seminary, 3 classes short of his master's degree, to march with Martin Luther King. He was there that day on the balcony of the motel where King was murdered. He was 26 years old. And where most people would have been broken by that, Jesse Jackson got to work. Oh, interesting. We are learning from the past, are we not? He founded Operation PUSH, which is People United to Save Humanity, in 1971, focused on expanding economic opportunity for Black communities. He ran for president in 1984 and again in 1988, launching the National Rainbow Coalition. And here is something that the history books gloss over. Jackson fundamentally changed the Democratic Party. He was the first presidential candidate to make support for gay rights a central part of his platform. He successfully fought for change to delegate allocations from a winner-take-all to a proportional. That change later allowed Barack Obama's come-behind victory over Hillary Clinton. Pretty interesting. Somebody quoted saying, a Democratic Party that now represents a multicultural America and has someone like Kamala Harris as the former vice president and Obama as the former president began in many ways with those steps. His son, Jesse Jackson Jr., told CNN this morning that his father's greatest contribution was giving light to people who, quote, found themselves in dark places. Pretty inspirational. That, my friends, is what a legacy full of service and a legacy full of dedication and a commitment to liberation looks like. A focused warrior who accomplished so much. But also, as his son said, something that I took very personally today, his contribution was giving light to people who found themselves in dark places. He received the Presidential Medal of Freedom from Bill Clinton in 2000. He earned dozens of honorary degrees, and he helped secure the release of American hostages in Syria, Cuba, and Iraq. He organized, he marched, he ran for office, and yes, occasionally he failed. And yes, occasionally he had setbacks. But there's no question that he has a life and legacy of service. And I want to be delicate how I talk about this, because I did see also that the president of the United States put out some Truth Social about him. And I think this is where I'm trying to be delicate in how I handle this, but this is the same president acknowledging the contributions of Jesse Jackson, who just about a week ago put out this video of Barack Obama and Michelle Obama depicted as apes. And then, of course, didn't have enough courage to admit that he was the one who posted it. And let us just be honest, he was the one who posted it. And even if by some weird ass chance he wasn't, which I don't think anyone believes, do you honestly believe that he wasn't the person who clicked post? Do you believe that? Even if he wasn't, what he doesn't do, what he didn't do, and what proves he's a failure of a leader in this moment is that the buck stops there with the President of the United States of America. His platform, his literal company, he's a founder of Truth Social. And whether or not he clicked send, it's his name, his face, and his post. Barack Obama was the first Black president of the United States of America. We have forgotten how far we have come, but also how far this man has made us fall for nothing. I talk about this all of the time. I have a son who is in his 20s. Believe it or not, I know, the gray beard. All that my son has ever seen, quite literally, the first political activism I took my son to was No Dapple in 2016. I think his journey into politics is particularly heartbreaking when you think about it. I have to turn up my volume. I'm sorry. The first time that my son got involved in politics was when we went to No Dapple in 2016. And the first time he ever saw politics in real action was when we went to the state capitol to deliver a human rights violation to the governor of North Dakota, which, by the way, we did. We walked right into the office and we handed him a letter accusing the governor of North Dakota of human rights violations. As a small aside to that, by the way, that was on a Friday that we did that. By the Monday of the same week that we did that, so Friday, Saturday, Sunday, by that Monday, they had installed metal detectors and a full security guard in the North Dakota State Capitol. So whenever anyone tells you that one person cannot make a difference, I want to tell you that simply delivering a letter to a governor of North Dakota fundamentally shook them, obviously. One man and his son walked into the Capitol and delivered a letter. We didn't make any threats. We were not violent. But we put a letter on that man's desk. You are committing human rights violations. And by the next Monday, the entire building had metal detectors and more guards. And when we returned that Monday, by the way, my son's first action of witnessing political violence, when he was simply taking pictures of a North Dakota state trooper, I guess defending the Capitol against this 30-year-old man and his then girlfriend and 14-year-old son with a camera. I guess that was really scary to them. And when my son was taking a picture of that man, that trooper, he has a very great photo on his camera that he didn't realize at the time. But this state trooper advanced towards my 14-year-old son. And that was the first time I think my son realized that the state, the government, politics was not working for him. It was indeed working against him, threatening violence against him in a moment of nonviolence. My son has this very famous picture that at 14 years old, I couldn't believe he managed to capture in his cool calmness while being advanced on by a grown adult man, by the way, a grown adult man. He has this beautiful picture of this cop with this angry, threatening face. At that time, the president of the United States was Barack Obama. And when thousands of people showed up, thousands of veterans, by the way, showed up, we all stood together in a circle and we surrounded the entire camp and everyone linked hands, arm in arm and arm in arm. And the president of the United States at the time, Barack Obama, had to make a decision. Was he going to send the full force of the National Guard to descend on thousands of protesters, including hundreds, if not thousands, of military veterans, to defend the interests of a pipeline? Or was he going to back down? We won that day. They did stop it. Of course, then my son got to witness President Donald Trump in his first term, who almost immediately overturned that decision. Political violence, indeed. My point is, my son and millions of children his age, my younger son as well, all they've ever known is this president, this man, this person who sets no example other than shame, corruption, greed. He is supposed to be the example, I guess. That's all they've ever known. So if you're a young adult in America at this time, and all you have ever known is this grifter, this con artist, this pedophile supporter, this credibly accused pedophile, how could you have any faith and hope in this process or this system? How could you have any faith that this was ever going to get better? Well, you look to those in the past. A young Jesse Jackson who left school 3 classes short of his master's degree to go march in the moment with Martin Luther King, who put everything on the line to advance the cause and course of freedom, who literally freed prisoners, who literally started organizations, and who changed the Democratic Party, which then undoubtedly led to the first Black president. People like to tell you all the time, I'm just one person. What could I do? What can I do? Jesse Jackson was one person who changed the course of history. I hope I did okay in acknowledging his contributions. The next story. Let's talk about Costco. Let's move it up and talk about resistance and what resistance actually means. Fortune published a piece last week about Costco, by the way. The headline tells you everything. Costco defied Trump's DEI orders as Target and Walmart scaled back. Business is booming. Here's what you should know. The day after Trump returned to the White House last January, he obviously signed a slew of executive orders decrying DEI. And by the way, DEI is just their way of, DEI to MAGA is just their way of saying the N-word without saying the N-word. I feel like everybody knows that, but not enough people acknowledge that. So anyway, the president signs all these DEI orders. Target bends the knee. Walmart bends the knee. And early last year, 2025, activists decided to launch the largest ever boycott against Target. And it was massively successful. And I don't know if you've been to a Target lately, but Target is feeling the effects of it. They've had to change their CEO. They face continuous quarter over quarter, week over week declines in same store sales. They are cutting back hours for their staff, which is something we'll talk about later, by the way. But Costco decided to take the opposite approach. They decided to lean in to diversity, equity, and inclusion. They decided to look it straight in the face. And here's what we now know. Sales are booming. Here's some financial numbers. Revenue is up 8.2%, $66 billion. 90% of members renew every year. The stock is holding steady, and analysts say, why rock the boat? It's sailing very nicely. But Costco went further. They actually started a lawsuit against the Trump administration over tariffs, arguing that the tariffs were a violation of emergency powers. They're right now the highest profile company willingly fighting the president. They're fighting for you, by the way. Those tariffs impact you. Costco proves that having a spine is good for business. They're adding massively and they're building new stores. They built a beautiful new store here in Las Vegas where I live. They're adding members every single day. And they're proving what we have told you all of the time, which is when you stand up to these fascists, they back down. It shouldn't take a bulk warehouse selling toilet paper to demonstrate resistance to this fascist. Costco is showing more moral spine than the entire United States Senate. And guess what? It's working for them. Business is booming. But let us look at an example of the opposite. Good morning, everyone. Welcome to the Ignition News. I'm just going to acknowledge right now, if you watch the show frequently, I'm a little bit jilted today. Not jilted. I'm a little bit off today. Had a really rough day yesterday. It was a very rough day, actually, yesterday. In fact, while I was broadcasting the show yesterday, FedEx was at my house. They came to the house delivering something. I had to stop recording the show. Those of you who were here yesterday, you remember, I had to stop recording the show, go downstairs, sign for this package. Well, in the package was the supplies for our studio, which we've been saving for a long time. As you know, if you watch the show, I've been talking about it forever. And yeah, everything was destroyed. I don't know. Everything was destroyed. Like, I set up my whole day. I took the whole day off to do it. But then I said, okay, this can be replaced. So then I went to go and get the furniture for the studio. So I'm getting the car, get my younger son in the car. We go, and we're going to go down and pick up the furniture. The furniture is also destroyed. But I forget to tell you, on the way to pick up the furniture, we get in a car accident. This driver, he gives me his insurance card. It's expired. Nice. And yes, we go to to pick up the furniture, and the furniture is destroyed. I don't know how. The box is destroyed. There's like obviously a crack in it, and on the other piece, you're not going to believe this, but it was covered in jelly. I don't know how this happened. I don't know how. But anyways, drove back home in the rain. The moderator cat helped me paint the wall, and it looks really nice. So these are temporary setbacks, yes? And if you watch the show frequently, you probably like, what's off today? Well, what's off today is yesterday. I'm not going to lie to you. It would be inauthentic for me to say anything different. What's off today for me is yesterday. It was a really tough day. And so I don't have my usual spark and vigor. But yeah, you understand, yes? It's when we push forward in spite of the frustration, the pain, in spite of the kick in the ass, honestly. It's when we pick ourselves up, when we are less strong than we were yesterday. That is the true test. That is the true test. Let me tell you someone else who did that. Stephen Colbert. So literally just hours ago, Stephen Colbert was interviewing James Talarico. And apparently, by the way, the whole episode is up on YouTube. But they were airing this episode with Talarico. And Brendan Carr from the FCC sent a letter in January talking about basically going after their license, all this sort of thing. And Colbert was supposed to interview Talarico, but the corporate cowards at CBS, which is Paramount, which is Larry Ellison, David Ellison, they forbade him from airing the interview. They did not let Stephen Colbert air the interview with Talarico. And they cited equal opportunity or fair access, that rule, which, by the way, practically speaking, no company follows that anymore anyway, by the way. So obviously, we know that CBS has fired Colbert. He's just riding out the rest of his contract. And he's interviewing the Senate candidate in Texas, Talarico. And the corporate heads say, no, you can't air this interview. Think about that for a second. A Senate candidate in one of the most important Senate races in the history of Texas. Texas is a purple state, believe it or not. And the corporate head honchos at CES say, no, you can't air this interview. They don't say, oh, get another candidate on, fair access, fair time. They just say, no, you can't do it. Can't put it on the air. But Stephen Colbert does the interview anyway, which is, by the way, a great 15-minute watch. Go watch it on YouTube. And he puts it on YouTube. So far, it has like 2 million views, I think. It had 1.5 when I checked this morning. So I'm guessing it has about 2 million so far. More people are probably going to see that interview with Talarico than would ever have seen it at night. Many more people. sort of the Barbra Streisand, the Streisand effect. The point being, even though Colbert has exacted an enormous toll, he's lost his show, he's riding out the remainder of his contract. Even though he's been kicked in the ass, kicked down, he still chooses to resist. He still chooses to use whatever part of his voice he can use to stand up against this administration. And say whatever you will about his career in the future, in history, people will look at people like Stephen Colbert and they will see them as great heroes in this time of our great peril. The FCC is being weaponized. A government agency is being weaponized in collusion with billionaires. And we have, I don't know. The great moral decay in our country is not from your neighbors and friends. It is from a few very wealthy people who, by the way, we're learning increasingly are all part of this global sex cabal. And they really don't care if we live or die. It seems. They really don't care that this system, this democracy, this faith and credit of the United States Constitution is the very thing that built their wealth. Our infrastructure, our education, our systems, our innovations. They just don't care. They're increasingly isolating themselves in their yachts, their islands. They have no idea the kinds of things that you struggle. The idea, for example, of how devastating it might be for your day to get in a car accident. How that will impact your life for the next 3 months, probably, right? I know a lot of you've had to deal with that. It's not the car accident that I got in, right? Everyone knows that. It's the fact that the next 3 months of my life are going to be disrupted by it. Insurance, going, fixing, doing this, my car, all this stuff, right? They have no idea. They have no idea. They have people that manage people that manage people that deal with those kinds of things. And when they tire of them, they fire them. And if the car is sufficiently damaged in the minor fender bender, guess what? They can just take a little bit of a fraction of the tiniest portion of the little bittest percentage of interest that they got from their vast hordes of wealth. And they can just tell the person who manages the person who manages the person who hired the person to manage the person to go buy a new car. And it'll be there by that afternoon. The difference is astonishing. And I keep saying this, but when more and more American people see what's happening with not only the Epstein files, but with how these people live, because what the Epstein files does reveal is it reveals how these powerful people live, how removed from reality it is, and how disconnected and alone the rest of us are. When people finally start seeing this, when they finally have the moral courage to digest it, the only option is revolution. It is the only option. So get involved, pay attention, and take a stand. I do want to close out with one thing, which is James Talarico. It is a great contrast and something that I want to share with you my thoughts on Mr. Talarico. Obviously, you know that Talarico is running against Jasmine Crockett. Jasmine Crockett is herself a political firebrand. I think she's got a lot of courage. She's insanely smart, and she has amazing energy. This is not a political endorsement, but it is a reality check. The reason I believe that the right candidate for Senate in Texas is Talarico is the following. And I've been very consistent on this. And first, I will say, Talarico has some political positions that I find indigestible, speaking of digestion. And he definitely took money from Miriam Adelson, which is disgusting. And I think that he has to grapple with that. And he has to really tackle that head on. But James Talarico understands the battle he is in and the battle we are all in. And if I'm not clear enough, I want to be very clear with you right now. I've been very clear for the last year. We are fighting Christian nationalist authoritarianism, Christian nationalist fascism. And the difference between Crockett and Talarico is that Talarico understands that we are battling Christian nationalist fascism. And he is bringing to that fight a very unique toolkit, which is his conversation about faith in a state where that is essential. And he is a credible messenger. And so this is not an endorsement of Talarico. And I've said before, if Crockett wins in the primary, that I will, of course, support Jasmine Crockett. But I want to tell you that between the two candidates, both talented, both great people, Talarico is the person bringing the right fight at the right moment. It is an ideological battle between Christian nationalist fascism, ethnic cleansing, by the way, that's what it is, and democracy. And so, for what it's worth, if you happen to live in Texas, you happen to be wondering or you're on the fence, I think you should vote for Talarico because I think he has the best chance of winning in a statewide contest. And I think more importantly, he has the opportunity to fundamentally call out these Christian nationalist fascists for the hypocrisy that they are. In a way that, as talented as Crockett is, she simply doesn't bring that fight. She brings a really great fight to a lot of areas. And again, we will support her if she wins. But if you want to know who's going to win Texas, it's Talarico. There's no question in my mind. And I will close with this. Whether you're in Texas or whether you're in North Dakota or whether you're in Florida, the good thing about the Talarico versus Crockett conversation is one of the first times in the last year when we've actually had the glorious problem of having two great people to pick from, both of whom would make our lives better, unquestionably. And so, in the middle of all of this, we have people willing to lead. We have people willing to push. We have people willing to push back. There are people out there who are capable of taking the fight to the fascists. But you also have to do that as well. It's not just about who you vote for. It's about when you vote with your wallet. It's about where you show up. It's about who you show up to. It is about when you refuse to back down. It is about the conversations you have with your brothers, your sisters, your neighbors. But most importantly, as I have learned brutally in the last 24 hours, we are going to get kicked down. Our faces are going to be put in the mud. What I had to deal with, just to be very honest with you, is nothing compared with what a lot of people have to deal with every single day. It just feels really heavy to me because it feels like I was on the precipice of accomplishing something that meant a lot to me. But that's the whole thing, isn't it? So many of us are so brutally removed from hope that we are so richly entitled to. And that is the thread. We have been constantly robbed, constantly affronted, and constantly had our opportunities stolen from us by an increasingly smaller and smaller group of people. And there are going to be days when it's really hard. And what they are counting on is they are counting on you to give up. They are counting on me to give up. And so on those days when you are kicked into the mud and when you get back up, you can't expect yourself to have the same energy, courage, and vigor as you did seconds before your face was in the mud. You just don't. This is what I'm struggling with today. I'm struggling with that realization, in case you can't tell. I feel like you're watching it in real time. But it's by embracing that, instead of running from that you truly gain your power. As I shared last night, there's a Japanese proverb. Fall down 7 times. Get back up 8. I'm saying it wrong now, but we are going to be increasingly tested. And what is important is when we get pushed down, that we get back up. That's the show, everybody. Thanks for tuning in. Ooh, there we This has been today's episode of The Ignition News. Please consider following us on all of your favorite podcast platforms, whether that's Spotify, Apple Podcast, YouTube, or Substack. We're here to deliver to you unfiltered, uncensored news. Let's get busy with the truth on The Ignition News.